Welcome. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see you. So we have a few people that I want to acknowledge that are here. We have Representative Neil Carter. Where is he? He's standing right back there. We have Supervisor Jeff McClure. Brad Miller, the Pinal County Attorney. And Kathy Adam, the Vice Mayor of Florence. We also have two reporters. We have Sasha Hupka from the Arizona Republic and Mark Cowling from the Florence Reminder Blade Tribune. So we're going to have the Vice Mayor speak first, but we will have a time for questions and answers if we could leave that to the end. So just hold your questions until everybody's finished presenting. And I also just wanted to say that nobody from the SCIP Power Company is present. The people that are here, it's all different people from tribal, non-tribal utility companies and others that have come together out of the kindness of their hearts to help you. So, to what? There's people from SCIP? Oh. Oh. We're SCIP customers. I'm a SCIP customer too. So anyways, the focus of this is going to be the positive solutions that these people have been coming together to make for you. So we'll start with Kathy Adams.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you who are not from Florence, I want to welcome you to our wonderful town, and all my friends and neighbors, thank you for coming out tonight. I just wanted to say that Mayor Eaton was unable to be here. He's out of town, and several of our council members are also unable to make it tonight, but we are all very concerned about what's going on out here. We all hear you, and we are all here in support of you. I'm bringing a message from LD 16, Teresa Martinez, our state representative. She has been very involved and active in this and supporting you all. Unfortunately, her son was in a fairly serious motorcycle accident, so she, of course, is with him tonight, and that's the reason why she couldn't make it. But she does send her regards and let you know she is monitoring it, so thank you.
All right, as the members of the various power companies in our area come up and take their seats, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Brad Miller. I'm the Pinal County Attorney. How many of you were here 2 years ago at the Florence Library? Raise your hand. All right, so the members of the power company, look at these hands. Can you keep your hands raised? These are the people that use their voices who made enough noise to get here on this stage. I just want to let you know that your voices do matter. You can lower them now. But your voices do matter. You know, sometimes in politics, people think nobody's listening to us. Things won't ever get done, or government is so inefficient it can't occur. I just want to let you know that because of your voices and because of each one of you, and the fact that you keep coming and you're staying invested in this process, you have these people here today. And with that, I'm going to allow them to speak, but I want to let you know that our job is not over. We need to continue to push and continue to fight until we get that resolution passed through Congress in order to get SCIP completely divested. Thank you very much.
All right, good evening. My name is Brian Heitoff, and I am the CEO and General Manager of Trico Electric Cooperative. And I guess I've been voluntold to be the speaker, spokesperson, at least for tonight, to kind of MC our presentation. We do have an agenda. We have several slides we want to walk through that talk about what we've been doing, a high-level description of the plan that we have, and then how you can help. But really, it can be boiled down to some takeaways that are that, one, we empathize with you. Two, we are utilities that we believe may be able to help. And we've been working on a plan, but that this is not going to be a plan that can be executed quickly. It is going to take some time. So also one of the asks is just some patience as we go through the process. And then with that in mind, also you can help, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we wrap up here in a little bit. So I'd like to introduce those of us here on stage and really maybe to introduce who we are. There are really two main types of electric utilities. There's privately owned utilities and there's public power. We represent public power. So privately owned utilities are typically larger. They're investor-owned. Examples would be Arizona Public Service, Tucson Electric Power. They typically serve more in urban settings. And then we have the public power entities like those of us here tonight. And they fall into a couple of subcategories. One is the electric co-ops, electrical districts, and utility authorities. And we're going to actually, we'll walk through and we'll all introduce who we are to you here in a second. But we're all not-for-profit. We all are service-oriented. We're all used to operating in rural areas. Most of us got our start in rural areas. And so we're used to the rough terrain. We're used to low density. And really, we consider that to be our specialty. So as far as starting here with who we are, TRICO is headquartered in Marana. We were formed in 1945, and so this year's our 80th anniversary. We essentially wrap around Tucson. Most of our membership, we're customer-owned, and so our customers we consider to be members. Most of our membership is around Tucson. We serve some of the suburbs, but also the rural areas around town. Most of our membership is in Pima County, but also Santa Cruz County, and then the southern portion of Pinal County. Where we overlap with SCIP is primarily in the Oracle and Mammoth areas. We have 160 employees. We are a distribution company primarily, but we also do own some of our own electric generation. We do have a couple of solar and storage facilities that are interconnected on our distribution line, but then we also buy power from primarily Arizona Electric Power Co-op in Benson, which serves much of the public power community or utilities here in Arizona. We buy from APCO. We have some contracts with some other entities as well. We're governed by a 7-person board of directors. All 7 are customers of TRICO. They're elected by the membership through a process that we go through every year at our annual meeting in April. And so our membership is split into 7 districts, and each district has a representative on the board of directors, and they govern the affairs of the organization. They set direction, they set policy, and then it's my job along with our staff at TRICO to execute upon those policies in that direction. So we're mostly residential. In our portfolio of power, we're about 35% renewables, and the rest is a mixture of natural gas and coal generation. So that's TRICO. And now I'd like to introduce Phil, who will talk about Graham.
Good evening. My name is Phil Cook. I'm the CEO of Graham County Electric Cooperative. Closest city to us is City of Safford, so we're up in Graham County. We have 10,000 electric meters and 2,000 water meters, so we serve water as well. Our structure is very similar to what Brian mentioned as far as a not-for-profit co-op. We our rates are to cover our expenses and some capital investment to make sure the system's reliable. The closest that we overlap with SCIP, we don't really overlap, but we're on the eastern side of their border, of their service territory. We serve part of the San Carlos Reservation, so that's kind of what we're about. And we have 40 employees, and again, we serve really around Mount Graham, so that's where we're at. So happy to answer any questions as we get to that point, and just glad that you're all here. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. When it comes to electric cooperatives, all of the cooperatives in the country, and there's 900 electric co-ops. We serve in almost every county in the nation. There are 6 electric cooperatives here in Arizona. Graham and Trico are 2 of them. But we operate under the same set of cooperative principles. And I mentioned some of these already. And for example, democratic member control, members participate, and they're essentially the owners, they're the investors in the organization. Even though there are 900 electric co-ops, we operate autonomously, but at the same time, we cooperate with other cooperatives. And so, we've banded together and formed an insurance company, another generation power company, a software company, and so we banded together over the years as we've had needs to help deliver and provide value to our memberships. And we're community-based. So in all of our cases, again, it ties back to the democratic process where we're governed by our customers. So the next subset of public power is electrical districts. And we have 3 with us tonight, and I'll introduce Ken Robbins to introduce Electrical District 2.
Good evening. My name is Ken Robbins. I'm the general manager of Electrical District Number 2. We're one of the probably 8, I guess, electrical districts here in the state. ED2 was formed over 100 years ago. We've been around for a long time. Of course, I haven't been with the district 100 years, but but I've been with them for 25 years. And we're nonprofit. Again, we're a political subdivision of the state of Arizona. We have approximately a little over 6,000 meters. When we started years ago, the reason that we were formed, and the reason a lot of the electrical districts were formed, was to provide power to the farmers, to run the pumps. The big guys up in the valley didn't want to extend their lines down to this area, so a group of farmers banded together and were able to form these special districts. We serve the Promenade Shopping Center and the Mission Royale just right across the street. We've been growing over the years. We have a 5-member board that makes decisions as to what rates are going to be and that kind of thing. We try to be as customer friendly as we can. Our board really focuses on that. We also have a relationship with Holcim, and Grace will get up and talk to you about that. Now, when it comes to where we can provide service, we provide service in Casa Grande, a portion of Coolidge, and a little portion of Florence. We have lines that extend out to portions of Florence. But as far as where we can serve, most of where we can serve now is just east of Interstate 10. Although we do have lines west of Interstate 10 going into Casa Grande, and there are pockets that have been grandfathered in where we continue to serve a number of customers still in Casa Grande, and one large customer is Hexcel, which some of you may be familiar with. Now, the relationship we have with Grace, and she'll talk about that, in areas where we can't serve and we have lines, then Holcim can tap our lines and provide service to customers. But that's a little bit about ED2. During the question and answer session, if there are additional questions about our district, I'd be more than happy to answer those for you. Grace?
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I'm Grace Garcia, and I am the General Manager for Hohokam Irrigation and Drainage District. We primarily were formed for the purpose of delivering water to our farmers, but the 5 board members decided to start selling power. So our service area is Florence, Coolidge, and a little bit of Casa Grande. We have a little bit more than 2,000 customers that we serve, and we primarily overlap with San Carlos, in the Coolidge and Florence area. So that's about it.
Brian Yergis, I am the General Manager of Electrical District Number 3. Ken does have something on me. ED3 is only 99 years old instead of 100, so we are looking forward to January of 2026 for our 100th anniversary. Actually, ED3 absorbed ED1 in the 1980s, and our service territory, a little bit about us, we have 36,000 meters. Most of those are in the city of Maricopa, so that's the northern part of our system, and then we go all the way south of the I-8 interstate. In 2010, around there, we absorbed 3,000 customers from APS on the western part of our system, and we've continued to grow as the city's grown, but obviously we have a large ag economy as we have 60,000 farmable acres within our district. Our capital plan, our 5-year capital plan is currently $100 million for distribution and transmission projects. Our summer peak is about 270 megawatts. Where we get our power is from a mix of resources, federal hydropower, combined cycle natural gas plant, market purchases, and then between 2025 and 2027, we're adding 138 megawatts of utility scale solar and 85 megawatts of 4-hour battery storage. We continue to work on our power supply as our customers grow. We currently have about 130 employees. Some of those employees are shared with the irrigation district, but we do have staff available 24 hours a day. And we have a customer service center right in the city of Maricopa, and then our corporate office is just a little bit south of the city. So pleased to be here. The electrical districts are part of what we also call the public power family, or there's about 2,000 public power utilities across the country that are members of the American Public Power Association, and I think all the electrical districts are part of that membership. So glad that all of you are here. That means you care about the future of your utility, but also your neighbors as you deal with the SCIP situation. So we're pleased to be a stakeholder and at least be part of the process. I think there'll be a question and answer session at the end. So if you have any questions about ED3, I'd be happy to answer those at the end. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek McKeechin with Electrical District Number 4. We're basically down south of Eloy, Arizona. We serve a lot of irrigation land. Territory is about 188,000 acres. And then we are also made up of a board of 5 members. They're all landowners within the district. And our power suppliers we're with Power Authority, CRISP, and SPA as of right now. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. They touch pretty much base. We're pretty much identical to the same way they run. Not identical, there's some differences, but a lot of the same things. So that's about it. And like they said, we're here for questions after this. So if you guys have any questions about Eloy, in the Eloy area. Thank you.
Which one? To hit the big one? There we go. All right. I'm short. I got to move this down. I just wanted to say B5. B5. Anybody? Bingo? Sorry. I totally couldn't resist. My wife would be really ashamed of me for just doing that. But she's not here, so don't worry. So my name is Ken Stock, and I am the general manager for GRICUA, the Gila River Indian Community Utility Authority. We're a little bit different. We're a couple ways different, so I'll kind of hit those real fast. We are most closely related to the electric cooperatives that were just described to you. We are owned by our members. However, we are ultimately owned by one member, the tribe. So we are an enterprise of the tribe. So it functions just kind of slightly different, but that's pretty much our organizational structure. We are the baby of the group, as you can see by the date on there. I think it says 1998. And we were, or all of the Gila River Indian community was SCIP customers, and actually still kind of, sort of are. So we are all part of the same SCIP system, although the community decided they wanted energy sovereignty, and as a result then started in 1998 to begin to, I will use the word acquire, but that's not exactly quite right, but to take over portions of the SCIP system and to operate and maintain through what is known as a 638 contract with the BIA. So it is a separation, if you will, from SCIP, but still, because of contractually, we're still connected. And obviously, physically, we are still connected. As far as being part of the SCIP system overall, we actually represent half of the load. So half of the load is the Gila River Indian community, and the other half of the SCIP load is still SCIP. Although customer-wise, we are only about 3,500 customers, but with, I think the SCIP customer base is 12 or 14,000 or something in that neighborhood, so a little bit smaller in that sense. The reason that the load is so high is because most of our load is actually commercial, and most of that is, of course, up by the Wild Horse Bass and Lone Butte area. So we cover all the way from Coolidge, going up the I-10 corridor, all within the boundaries of the community, and then all the way up to Chandler and to the Wild Horse Pass area. Beyond that, within the community, just for FYI, is actually still served by SRP. So eventually the community, as said, GRICUA will take over that part as well, but that's not for today. The community is very much in favor of divestiture, obviously, for many of the same reasons that likely you are here tonight. They were actually had those same concerns back in 1998 and have been taking many steps to get to this point. So again, the community ultimately very much supports this effort. Would ask for your support of this effort so that we can ultimately get this goal across the finish line. And I'll be around for questions later if anybody has any. Thank you.
And the last entity is the San Carlos Apache Telecommunications Utility. I don't believe anyone from San Carlos is here tonight, but they're organized similarly to GRICUA, and the intention is that they would serve the SCIP accounts customers who are living on the reservation. So we understand your concerns. The purpose of tonight isn't to dwell on these, but we did want to acknowledge that the reliability concerns, the rate volatility, the aging infrastructure. We've been working with BIA and SCIP employees at least the last few months. They've been participating in our meetings, and it's my opinion, and I think I speak on behalf of most of us here, or all of us, that in our dealings, they've been competent, they've been caring, they've been professional and cooperative. I feel that the issues are more systemic, in the fact that the utility is owned by the federal government, and that manifests in a couple of ways. One way is in power supply. So all of us here on stage, we buy or build generation facilities or generation resources in advance of our needs. With SCIP, there's limitations on how far in advance they can purchase power, and that comes into play during the summer. You know, we peak, most of the usage in Arizona is in the summer. We need additional resources, generation resources, to serve our accounts during the summer, and so does SCIP. And therefore, we have to either build for that or buy. The market has shifted the last few years, and so, 3-4 years ago, when there was plenty of resources in the summer, prices were low, and therefore, summer power could be purchased with really no impact on rates. That's shifted now. Not to say that we don't have enough supply, we do, but when it's tight, when demand's growing and supply is not growing as fast as the demand, which is the situation we've been in now the last few years, prices are spiking during the summer, and so that really catches up to you. And so the limitations are systemic in that way. Also, from an infrastructure standpoint, when we're in a pay me now or pay me later type business when you're in the infrastructure business. And you can get away with not investing or doing maintenance on your system for a few years here and there, but eventually it catches up to you. And that's in essence what happens when there's not enough funding, or there's challenges obtaining the funding from the federal government. So I just wanted to acknowledge again that we understand the challenges, and that has led us to developing a plan. And so this started about a year ago, but really in earnest about 6 months ago, when a few of us started gathering to identify ways that we might be able to help. And so that included, identifying who the stakeholders were, and initially that included the utilities and some of our state associations, like the Grand Canyon State Electric Cooperative Association, the Arizona Power Authority. And then gradually, when we were meeting monthly, that grew to include representatives from Pinal County, the consumer group. Irene, Brad, Mark have been attending some of our meetings, or all of our meetings. We've included the governor's office was at a couple of our meetings. And so we've gradually been expanding who's included in the conversations, to the point where a couple of months ago, we also met with the San Carlos Apache tribe and enlisted their help, and they came on board as well. So that led to the development of a plan, and really what we're about, and what all of us have been about, is strong reliability, stable rates, investment in the infrastructure, and local control. So BIA has gone on record that they are, and this is from their website as of November 19th, I believe it's still on the website, but they've announced that it is developing options for the divestiture of the SCIP Power Systems and is seeking to engage with electric utilities in Arizona to assume ownership and responsibility for BIA's off-reservation electric facilities and customers. And we had already been meeting at this point in time, so that was welcome news, because when we first began the conversation, we weren't sure that it was going to be welcomed, what we were working on. But now it is, and again, they've joined our group, our working group, and are participating in our discussions. So as far as what the plan looks like, there are many steps, but we've boiled them down to 4 major steps. And the first that I want to mention is a comprehensive study. So we need to identify the facilities, the assets, understand the finances, employees, locations of all the accounts, and what repairs may be needed. So this is really a system inventory. That may sound like a simple step, but it takes time. And really that leads into the next step, which is legislative action. And that's in a couple of areas. So we are going to need congressional help. We've engaged with congressional staff and our congressional delegation. We have more meetings scheduled in the near future, and this will continue throughout the entire process. But the main area really comes into upgrading the system. So we feel we need an appropriations from the government at the point of divestiture to help improve the system. There needs to be an influx of probably multiple millions of dollars for us to be able to make the necessary repairs. That's an appropriation step. But there also needs to be some level of funding to help complete the study. Or we have to identify how the study is going to get done. You know, all of us operate pretty lean operations. We don't have employees just sitting around waiting for another project to do. And so if we conduct the inventory ourselves, you know, that is a human resource cost to us. Or if we hire outside expertise, there is out-of-pocket expenses for that. So there's an unanswered question at the moment of how that study gets paid for. So that comes into the second bullet. It could tie back to legislative action. Either knowing upfront that there's going to be, I guess, a payment for that study after the fact or in advance of it. And I've already started talking about the funding, so we need to obtain funding for the necessary improvements. And then the last step is divestiture, and that's when the control of the system and the assets and the responsibility for serving customers happens. And really that may be the last step here, but then of course all the repairs need to take place. And that's not going to happen overnight either. I mean, we've built our systems over up to 100 years. In Trico's case, 80 years. Graham's case, about 80 years. And so, you know, to essentially rebuild a majority of the system is going to take more than a few years, 5, 10, maybe 15 years to rebuild the system to where it needs to be according to modern standards. So what have we done so far? I want to start in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide. And it's really, we've determined the goal and the focus. And that is we want to enhance your service. And that includes transferring the assets to us in each of our respective areas. And so what have we done leading up to that end? We've organized ourselves. We have engaged stakeholders, and I mentioned not only us, but Pinal County, the Arizona Power Authority, and a few others, SCIP and BIA. We've developed an outline of the information we need to collect in our study. So we try to be comprehensive and identify everything we need to know to make informed decisions. We all operate existing utilities. One of the issues is that as we transfer assets, we need to be we're responsible to our current memberships and our current customer bases. We need to make sure that we don't somehow damage them or hurt their service. So that's an issue we need to work through. And then identify the steps that need to occur, and I just walked through some of those. This may not sound like a lot. You might say, Brian, you've been working for 6 months and this is all you've come up with. But I want to emphasize that this is a delicate situation, and again, we understand the concerns you have, the problems you're having, but when we went through this, most of us were involved in the process that happened in the late 80s and the early 90s when there was an attempt to divest SCIP to some of us on stage. That was a 5-6 year process. We were meeting regularly. My 2 predecessors were testifying in front of Congress a couple of times. And that went through, and at the last second, it didn't happen. I think what we're trying to do is build a strong foundation so that we understand our needs and we develop a win-win-win solution so that as we continue walking down this path, that we're all committed to getting this done and there's no last-second changes that occur this go-around. So with that, the last slide I have really is how you can help. And I think there's a couple of ways. One is let your community group, let Irene, Brad, Mark, and some of the others know that you support the proposal. This is likely to be a multiple year process. It's not going to happen in 1 year, probably not in 2. It might take 3 or 4. We don't know, but we're dealing with the federal government. Passing legislation and passing appropriations is going to take some time and work. So as we, the support, we need to know that you're behind us. And then you can do that through your consumer group. Also, participate in future meetings. So this is kind of an introductory meeting for us to come before you. I understand we will have other public meetings as we go through the process, as there's major milestones that have been accomplished to be able to share that with you. So participate in those. And then also, and this may be the biggest ask, and that is solicit support or engage with policymakers. So whether it could be at the state level, but even more importantly, it's at the federal level. So our senators, Kelly and Gallego, Representatives Siscomani and Crane are probably the main legislators who we need to be able to show support. We're going to, like I said, we're going to be meeting with them. We've met with them already. We're going to continue meeting with them, but we need letters of support when the appropriate time is needed, may need calls, but all that is necessary in order to ensure that there's a sense of urgency on their part to develop the divestiture bill and appropriate dollars for the effort. So with that concludes our slides. And I don't know, Brad, did you want to say anything else? Or are you good? Okay, so it's question time. And we do have a mic. Since it's a larger room, we'll come around.
Is there a bill in legislation right now that we can go to AZ League and do a request to speak and post our positions on that?
There is not a bill currently at the federal level. There is a resolution at the state level, and I don't know if Jorge or Jordi want to comment on that. Yeah, so Jorge Kanaka is with the Grand Canyon State Electrical Cooperative Association. There has been a resolution introduced by Representative Teresa Martinez.
Thank you, Brian. What Brian is referring to, and that's a great question, is Teresa Martinez's memorial. It's a House concurrent memorial, which is a memo to Congress urging them to take this on. The memo lays out, I think it's 2009, and it lays out the issue, proposes the plan loosely, and then also asks for Congress to take action in the passage of a bill through their regular order process, which is, as you can imagine, convoluted, but it's the state legislature or the state of Arizona addressing your issue, bringing it to the forefront and asking Congress to prioritize it. And that's what we need to package together along with resolutions from all the participants here, from their tribal councils, from their boards, from you all, letters of support to show Congress that this is a worthwhile process and the purpose is worthwhile taking on, and that it should be prioritized because it impacts their constituents, which is you.
So I'm sure that a lot of this is over a lot of our heads with trying to get moved over. We understand that. You're asking for letters and calls. Maybe with some of us, if we had like a template to send to these representatives would be helpful, because I personally wouldn't know what to just write off the cuff at this point. So.
Actually, that's a great suggestion. We will work on that. Irene just reminded me that please sign up on our email list. Actually, if you have your phone, you can scan the QR code and it'll take you to a sign up. And were there sign up sheets out? Yeah, and there's also sign up sheets here at this table over here.
I had a question. How many SCIP customers? I'm over here. I'm over here. How many SCIP customers does this deal with total, or do you know?
Believe it or not, we do not know.
Okay, because it goes all over. I'm from the Mammoth area myself. So it sounds like, is there a possibility that we will be absorbed in several of these folks on the stage today? Like one person, it doesn't sound like, because of the areas you're in, would be able to absorb the whole thing.
Correct,
Is
yeah.
that-
So we have estimates of how many customers there are, but that's also part of the inventory process in the study process. So actually, this is going to be hard to read or see, but this is a map that shows in the hatched area, generally speaking, that's where SCIP serves currently. And then behind it, you can see different colored areas. Each of those represent our electric service territory, so you can see where there's overlap. You know, SCIP overlaps with the existing utilities. So the way this distribution system is designed, you know, we have a substation, a distribution substation that takes delivery of power from the high voltage lines, and we've built circuits essentially into neighborhoods or country roads. And so one of the things we will need to identify is which substations and which circuits are closest to one of our existing utilities. Now we can generally see where they are, but that when we get into the details, we will actually have to account for every circuit to make sure that there's a solution for the entire SCIP customer base.
Just one more quick question. I know right now with SCIP, they don't allow people that have solar panels on their homes to do a buyback. Do all the companies on the stage, the utilities, do they allow that with their customers to buy the energy back that they don't use on their homes at that time?
I think we do. Yes. Oh, tribal does not. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, Florence Gardens, but having spent a bit of time in Washington, I worked for Ford Motor Company for years, and I was part of a government contact program. We wandered the halls of Congress and talked to our representatives, but it seems to me with the people you got in this room, if you gathered up all you people and the titles you've got, send a letter. I think there's an opportunity with a new administration in there, a new Secretary of the Interior, is request a meeting with the Secretary of the Interior. Pull it from the top rather than trying to push it from the bottom. I mean, you got enough people in here, they probably listen to us.
Yeah, thank you for that. We will see what we can get done.
I have a little different question. It seems like all the power companies are saying they have an issue with actually obtaining power. But we have all these massive solar farms that are being developed around here. Where is that power going, and why aren't we getting some of it?
That sounds like a simple question, but there's a lot of complexity to it. So and really it depends. It depends on who's developing it and who they have, who their off-taker is or who they're selling the power to. So I think APS is buying some of it. In some cases, I think we're buying some of that. Some of it's shipped out of state. So it just depends. Depends on the project.
We need it. Why are we shipping it out of state? We need it ourselves.
And it's a market thing. So it may be used during the winter. It may all be used, during the summer. It may all be used here. During the winter, it may not. So it depends on the season too, about when there's excess and when there's not excess. So it all depends on the project, time of year, what the existing contracts say. I think all of us are, or most of us are in the process of developing more resources though. So we've identified that there's a need, and in one way or another, we're adding generation.
Is APS involved with you guys?
They are
On the
not.
public service?
They are not.
I understand that California is selling their solar power now because they've generated more than they could use, which is hard to believe. But so my thing is, seems like these solar companies are going to be to the point where they're going to be saturated, be able to sell, so be easier to get power from them.
So I'll speak on Trico's behalf. I'm not sure about the others, but in some of the shoulder months, we've actually taken advantage of that. So we're buying some of that power at inexpensive prices. So again, that goes back to a market and understanding the market, the wholesale market.
So I noticed that in my area, we are actually on an overlap of SCIP and ED2. We actually have people that live literally a street over from us, and all the rest of our neighborhood has SCIP. So when our power goes out, they're the only ones that are like, hey, come on over, you can use our restroom. And we're on a well, so that's also powered by SCIP, so we have no water when we run out of power. So my question is, I mean, obviously I know there's a lot of complexities to it, but do we possibly have already an option to have ED2 power and we just didn't know about it when we established our power?
Yeah, we've had a number of SCIP customers call us because we do have areas where SCIP is on one side of the road and we're on the other. But until we have, I guess, legislation or a bill that allows divestiture, there's nothing we can do about that. In fact, we have some employees that work for ED2 that they're on SCIP service, and we're right across the road, but we can't provide them with electric service at this point. So we have to get, I guess, the right laws in place or bills in place to allow that to happen. We wish we could do something, but we can't at this point. And also, there's an issue of right-of-ways or easements that, that have to be looked into before we can extend service. Okay. Yeah.
Two things. Could you provide on the email a copy of that map, just so we could see where we're kind of located? Irini, if you could do that. Okay. And then my other question is, in the interim, SCIP's not allowed to provide or to buy competitive power in advance. So in the interim, is there anything that can change that would allow them to buy competitive power in advance while we're waiting for this divestiture to occur?
I think they've secured power for this summer, is what I understand. But I think that's probably a better question for SCIP. Yeah, I don't want to speculate on their behalf.
I was wondering if we could get the whole presentation, not just the map. Is that possible, that we could go to a site and read it?
Yes, Irini has indicated that there's a website that.
Yeah, and this is all live streamed, so we're keeping it on our YouTube channel. Public Power for SCIP, but it's on the website.
So it's on the website, and it's also being live streamed, so on YouTube, and it will stay there. If you have questions about that, contact Irini through the Facebook page.
Hi. In doing your inventories and what have you, it would seem to me like some of the low-hanging fruit would be new customers that are waiting for service from SCIP, because I don't know if they're being, just from a business perspective, prioritized. You know, I'm talking about new home building, whatever, you know, someone puts up a new building in these rural, non-tribal areas. Do you guys could maybe think about prioritizing that as low-hanging fruit, or is it just part of the big bucket?
Yeah, that's a good point. We have not considered that, at least not seriously. So we will add that to our list of topics for our next meeting. Yep. I should also point out that while it does require federal legislation and appropriations, there also may need to be state regulatory approval by the Arizona Corporations Commission. So that's also part of the process that we need to sort out as we go forward.
So I assume you know that you are currently in a 55 and older community here. This plan that you have going forward that you say could take 5, 10, 15 years sounds like a wonderful plan for my nieces and nephews, but I'm not really sure what it's doing for the current customers here. Is there some plan that is supposed to be helping the people that are on SCIP now? I mean, isn't that why we're all here, is because of the current problems, not the problems that we're going to have in 5, 10, or 15 years?
You know, I think that gets back to, you know, making sure that our legislators understand that there's a sense of urgency by all of us to work on a quick solution. I think it's just understanding the legislative process. It's going to take time. And then, let's say there are allocations to all of us of X many $million each. I mean, we could hire contractors to help with those improvements, but it's still a methodical process to, upgrade 200, 300, 400 miles of line or whatever the need is. That just takes time.
First of all, thank you, Irini, thank you for organizing this. Thank all the guests for being here. I definitely want to draw a special thanks to Supervisor McClure. I don't know if many of you are aware of what he's been doing on your behalf. He's made at least one trip, multiple trips? Two trips to Washington, D.C. regarding this very issue on our behalf and in the county. He is very much in favor of new nuclear. And I didn't know a lot about nuclear, but I do now. Through Supervisor McClure. Also, I learned a lot from previous Supervisor Kavanaugh. And I don't know if you know who I am, but I've been very, very active. There's a small group of us, I'm going to be nice, regarding utility solar. So I don't know that most of you are aware that there are actually 3 types of solar, okay? So it's very confusing, but when you understand it, it's simple. There's residential, that goes on your rooftop. Now, anybody that wants to do that can, and more power to you. There's industrial. Industrial is like the parking lots at Walmart that have solar panels to light the parking lot. And then there's utility. Utility solar requires very large portions of land in order to generate enough power to do us any good. Now, the downfall of that is utility solar requires large portions of land to do us any good. Unfortunately, if you look at the solar map of our county, including the cities of Eloy, Coolidge, Casa Grande, and Arizona City, if you could look at that like a giant airplane and you looked at the whole thing, it looks like somebody who put together a quilt on crack. That's what it looks like, because it's a hodgepodge of all these parcels of land that have been now taken and allocated for solar. And as this lady pointed out over here, where is that power going? Not much of it is staying here. So Maricopa doesn't want to build it up there because whatever land they have left, they're kind of landlocked, but whatever land they have, they want to develop it because houses and businesses pay a lot of taxes. I don't know if you guys are aware, but for example, utility battery storage generates no tax to the county, none. So it's just taking up land and we get no tax benefit from it, adding insult to injury. Not a lot of that power stays in Pinal. It goes to Maricopa and California. It's great for Facebook and Mesa, but it's not great for us. So in speaking to our representatives on the Board of Supervisors, they need to hear from you. You need to come to the meetings. You need to be there. You need to tell them how you feel. Nuclear is great because it's a small plant. We're on like 5th generation now. We can build a 5th generation nuclear power plant. Correct me if I say anything out of place. That 65-acre plant can supply 500,000 homes. And it makes waste that fits in 5-gallon buckets that is biodegradable by bacteria in the ocean that eats nuclear waste. That's how far we've come. And to me, that is a better use of our land as a county than this patchwork that we're not getting any benefit from. As more people move to our area because the cities get more crowded up north, and the land between Queen Creek and Chandler and Gilbert become landlocked, and Tucson, northern Tucson, in between, we're it. Well, if we're filling it up with all this solar to try to hit this community and that community, and we're not getting any benefit of it, we're just losing land. So when you write to, for example, our representative, Eli Crane, he had representatives here at the last meeting, very helpful, very willing to talk to you. Write him, tell him, we need to push this. I don't know if you guys have been following, but SRP and APS, they're now getting together and they now agree we need another nuclear power plant in Arizona. That's a better way to go than trying to hit and miss what we're not accomplishing. We've been fighting this for now, I've lived here 20 years. It just isn't getting any better. Nothing changes. I think we're learning that the federal government just can't run anything well. So the divestiture is really, really important. They're not going to know how we feel unless we contact our representatives. So Brian is right. We have to do that. But when you write, please include in that nuclear. We've got to push that because that is going to, I think, happen faster than repairs. I really do.
I'm not going to disagree about the nuclear, but I do, and obviously you can do whatever you want. From our standpoint, we think it'd be better to be laser focused on the SCIP issue when you're writing. So maybe it's 2 letters, maybe it's a different letter.
In your letter about nuclear, make sure you point out taxes, aka money, money, money for them. That's what they care about, the money.
We're at 7, but if there's a few more questions, we'll take them, and then we will be available afterwards as well.
From all of your companies, I didn't see anybody that covers east of Florence, headed toward Riverside. What are we to do?
Yeah, that's an issue we've got to figure out. If there's an... Pardon me? We do.
Why haven't we started San Carlos here?
I don't understand. To answer your question, We know that's an issue. It's our objective to make sure that all SCIP customers have a place to go. So we're still working on that particular part. All right. One last question.
Okay, I'm a part of SCIP. We've been here in Florence since 2017. Prior to that, we were in Mesa for 32 years and had Salt River Project. We used to complain about SRP, and holy heck, they are heaven compared to SCIP. The rates that we pay for 2 people in a home that's 2,000 square feet, my last electric bill with no heat, $500. The gentleman across the street has been running his home with a generator for the last 3 years. Try to find out why, because SCIP wants $29,000 to run electric to his property. We have complained to Pinal County because you are not supposed to run a generator to run your property. Pinal County does nothing. We have to listen to it. Our neighbors that are right behind them have to use earplugs to go to sleep. The rates that we pay and the rates that they want to supply utilities, I don't know how some of these families that are buying new houses and buying property up in here are going to afford it when they have children. Thank goodness we don't. How they're going to pay those electric bills, how people do it on limited income that are living on Medicare or Social Security. And SCIP does not care. We lose power for 13, 14 hours during the summer when it's 120 degrees out, and every time we call, a car hit a pole. A car hit a pole. We have no idea. And this is ridiculous. We cannot continue to do this. Something has to be done quick, or you're going to start losing people. They're just going to abandon their homes, and they're going to get out of here.
All right, let's take one more question, then we'll be available afterwards. You can come up and speak to us.
Why is San Carlos not here?
I don't know. They intended to be here, so I'm not positive
You know
why.
what? Here's the deal with San Carlos. Their not being here is exactly explaining their service. Anybody that has San Carlos, especially east of Florence, I remember when they put their lines in the 50s. And it's off.
So,
in the 50s, in the late 50s, when they ran those lines over there, the service has not improved since the 50s. It is the most dismal service, and I have some of my neighbors sitting in here, they'll attest to that. The power was probably off 10 times this last summer. And just like this lady said, oh, we have a pole down. You know what? That's old news. And to try to get a hold of them is, forget it. You can't do it. When that power goes out, you're out there by yourself, it could be out for 14 hours. And that's it. And San Carlos is not even here. It is ridiculous.
all right. We're past our time. We appreciate everyone for being here, and watch for more information. Oh, Irene, you want to say a few more words?
I just want to thank these people. Some of them live very far away. Thank them for all the work they're putting into helping us. And if you can, before you leave, just scoot your chair facing the table, that would be great.